Hello and welcome Premier League fans on the weekly roundup for Premier League. Thank you so much for joining. We are entering the final stretch and we'll be talking about the title race. And to do everything, I have a very special guest with me. Please join me and welcome Somil Dave. Hey Somil, thank you for joining and taking the time out.
Hello, Prashant. Good evening to you, and hello to everyone who's listening right now or maybe looking at it later on. And thank you so much for putting the word Premier League title race. It just feels very nice that there are some people still believing there is a title race going on, and hopefully there will be. So
Yep.
yes, really excited to doing this once again. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as we have talked about, so we will begin now. So, the Champions League spots. That's probably going to be the highlight of 2020 and 2021 season. Manchester United, Leicester City, Chelsea, they are occupying the current spots, but Liverpool, Tottenham, Everton, even West Ham, for a change, are still in the race to snatch the places. And of course, the fifth Champions League spot is still open for the Europa League from Europa League because Manchester United and Arsenal are still there. Our prediction, believe it or not, when we looked at the remaining fixtures and when we looked at exactly who is supposed to play who, it clearly turned out to be like we so called it in the American presidential race, too close to call. Obviously, we will not disappoint Premier League fans by saying that we will not say who will be in the top four, but I want to shout out that it's going to be very, very close and very, very competitive. And I'll tell you exactly why. What about you, Somil? Did you get a chance to have some kind of predictions about the top four?
Yes, I also think that, from number three towards, I think, almost number seven, eight, the teams will not be split by a lot of points. And I still think that, Chelsea, they've really, seen their form go up since, Thomas Tuchel has come in. Leicester, I think they won't make the same mistake as they did last time around. I think they've got a little better squad depth and less injuries this time around. So I think they will just about get into the top four, and the other remaining spots are really going to be a huge dogfight. I somehow don't get the feeling that West Ham are going to be there. I think they could be the Leicester of this season. They've been playing really well so far this season, and David Moyes has really done a fantastic job with the squad that he has. I mean, at the start of the season, the club was really in a big turmoil. Remember some of the transfers that they made. Mark Noble was calling out the board for selling some of the players and things like that. So they've really turned around, and but I think they'll just finish outside of the top six, and Spurs is going to be there, and the defending champions, they are not going to be finishing in the top four. So I think they'll be making the remaining European spot.
So, what currently I have on display, if you can see that, do you see any difference in the rankings of the top four where our model predicts that Leicester will be ahead by, like, if you can see this, right? Like, I mean, as the Premier League fans can also see on their screens, you would see Leicester ahead just by a point behind Manchester United and Chelsea. And the model predicts that United and Chelsea would really be on level. Chelsea will gain ground on Manchester United just because uh, of the kind of strategy that Tuchel has brought. United and Chelsea would really be locked. But if you see overall the message that when I say too close to call, right from West Ham, which is at 66, up till Manchester United, which is 72. It's just a 6 point gap. And obviously, there is a margin error of error. So, and if you look at the fixtures, right? If you look at the fixtures of Manchester United, Leicester, Chelsea, you see Liverpool, you see Tottenham. Looks like Liverpool has the easiest set of fixtures, and
Oh yes.
yeah, and in fact Tottenham as well, except probably just who do I see? Well, I don't see any big teams in Tottenham's list as well, except Manchester United. Like except Manchester United, they don't have Chelsea, they don't have Liverpool's, they don't have Manchester Cities. They have played everyone, so it looks like Tottenham has a pretty easy fixture compared to, let's say, Leicester or Chelsea or Manchester United for that matter.
Yes, they don't really have it, but I think with Spurs there is always a drama and there is always a circus going around. So they can turn up against the biggest of the teams, and Jose Mourinho, his biggest wins in the last few years, and especially with Spurs, have been against teams that dominate the possession. They try and attack them, and he's had a good record against City. He's done some wonderful things with them. So I think for Spurs, it really is about how their League Cup final goes. Because I personally think just leading up to the final, there'll be a few matches where he will be resting some of his key players, and if the result in the final doesn't go his way, it could really spiral downwards for them. So I personally think United will have a very strong end to the season, and the reason for that is, first of all, United have had lots of football in the last couple of months. They were one of the teams that played right up uh, deep into the previous season. They were in the Europa League semi-finals, so they only had a few weeks off. And of course, the season started a little later. But they've had a lot of injuries. They've had lots of players out of form. But they've got some of those injured players back now. In the internationals, we have seen that some of the key players like Bruno didn't play in the first match completely, and he's, I think, suspended for Portugal's next game. So Rashford is coming back into Manchester. So I think they'll be refreshed, and we've seen this with United. After a setback, they go on a very impressive run. So in December, when they got knocked out of Champions League, they went on a very good run and just lost two of the next 23, 24 matches. So I think considering that, I really think United will pick up the form and they'll finish second. I see Chelsea continuing their good form and just nicking past Leicester to the third spot, and Leicester coming into the last Champions League spot.
Quite interesting, very interesting. And I think one thing people haven't talked about enough is Brendan Rodgers, like the work he has done with Leicester and getting Leicester City back into Champions League spots. Who could have imagined that years back that Leicester City, I mean, one was a fluke, but getting into Champions League again, the second time, and also playing consistently in Europa League. These are the things which seem very uncommon for Premier League fans. Like, how did Leicester City rise so quickly? And the vision of their owners seems to be settling in pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. Brendan, I personally feel, is one of the underrated managers in the Premier League. I mean, he was a little bit of a joke when he, went to Celtic, and he kept talking about how amazing job he was doing in the Scottish Premier League and everything. But since he has come back, he's just really proven his worth, and he's taken this very exciting, young, and talented Leicester City, and they've been consistently punching above their weight. And as you said, the club is, I think, one of the best run Premier League clubs. Their infrastructure, academy, their facilities, their recruitment has been top notch. I mean, they every single transfer window in summer, they sell one big player and reinvest in the squad, and every single player that they buy almost clicks for them. I mean, just last week, United got knocked out, and one of the, two players in focus for me was Fred and Van de Beek for United. And one of the most influential players for Leicester was Yuri Tillemans. I mean, United ended up spending 50 plus million pounds for Fred and 40 million pounds for Van de Beek, who I'm sure will come good. But, I mean, 2 years ago, when United was spending on Fred, I mean, Tillemans was on loan at the time at Leicester, and that was a deal right up there to be done. So, that's the kind of gems that they've been plucking out from European football every single summer transfer window. And, all credit to Brendan Rodgers.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, something with their recruiting strategy or scouting strategy is really going well, and the top clubs do need to look into that.